live.
Okay.
Yay. Welcome to this broadcast from the Cat's Tail. We are talking about our August book, Black Moon by Kenneth Calhoun, and I'm Christine, and the other person here is Kat.
Oh,
And this is our first time trying this out, so we might run into like a bunch of technical problems, but you'll live. So Black Moon is a book in which insomnia is taking over the world, basically. People can't sleep. They just stop sleeping, and it deals with what happens to them. It follows four different people, primarily, who are at least seemingly sleeping
for the
for a
time
bit there.
being.
Huh?
For the time being.
Yes. When we begin, at least they are not insomniacs. So, yes, there are four characters. Primarily, I said that. So maybe you can say something about why we chose this book?
Yeah, and while I do that, maybe you can check because the Q&A says it's deactivated.
Is it deactivated? See?
Yeah.
Technical problems.
Yeah. First of all, there's the book cover. And I found this book, I think it was on Feedly somewhere, some RS feed I'm reading. They were talking about scary books. And this was supposed to be creepy and about insomniacs, and I have problems with insomnia, so I thought it was a good fit. It was supposed to be creepy, but I don't know if it really lived up to that.
No, I don't
We'll
think
see.
it wasn't very creepy at all, actually.
No, it was violent. Where it was supposed to be creepy, I felt like it were more violence than there were creepiness in this book.
Yes, that's true. And it's scary what happens to these people when they stop sleeping, obviously. And that's something, we don't know what would happen if people just stop doing that. So it's interesting, certainly, but not so much creepy.
Huh. You see, the thing is, when people stop sleeping, they go mad by degrees. The longer they go without sleep, the more aggravated they get, and if they catch someone sleeping, they go violently mad. They want to kill that person that sleeps.
Yeah. And that's kind of scary.
Yeah.
You don't want, actually, I kind of think it's a bit sort of like zombie stories because you have to be afraid of the people that you love.
Yeah.
So that's...
Yeah, it's more a zombie story than a like haunted ghostish story.
Yeah. And about the Q&A, I can't turn that on while we're alive, so we just have to miss that out this time. But we are on Twitter, so Cat's Tail on Twitter. I'll just open it up. But yeah, I felt this story had so much in common with zombie stories in how these people who stopped sleeping became aggressive and violent and tried to kill whoever they saw that were also or who were still sleeping. Like if they saw a sleeping person, they attacked, and that felt a bit like Brains.
Yeah. It was a zombie novel in a new outfit, kind of.
Yeah, we could say that. This doesn't mean it was a bad story, though. I quite liked reading about sort of their experience, these four different people that we primarily followed. So maybe we should talk a bit about their characters?
Yeah. The first character we meet, Briggs. Isn't that his name, Briggs?
Yeah, Briggs. Oh, Biggs.
I didn't like him.
Maybe.
Biggs. I didn't like him.
No. I didn't like him very much either.
He was all about his wife. I didn't feel like he had much personality except he wants to find his wife.
Yeah, and he obviously, he loves his wife, that's why they're married and whatnot, but
Like, do you
his
get
story is very
it?
much about something that has already happened, that isn't so much about his wife having gone missing. But he's in complete
Yeah,
denial about things that have happened in their relationship, and I think he's a very unreliable narrator. He makes up, uh, he fills in his wife's story with he just jumps to conclusions, and it's super annoying in that because it turns out that he's probably also wrong, I believe,
yeah,
about some of the sort of assumptions that he makes about her. So I don't very much like him. I do like that he goes looking for her and goes, where would she be? But he is delusional for a lot of the
yeah.
time.
He's kind of going mad even though he still sleeps.
Yeah. And but I do like how he sort of looks for places to fall asleep. Safe spaces, like he locks himself in cages, or when he climbs up on that billboard.
Yeah.
Although that was kind of dumb, but it was his last option, I suppose. So
Yeah. I like the way the author described the psychological aspects of
hmm.
things. You get a bit under the skin of the people we follow.
Yeah, and well,
It could
Biggs.
be more, but
Yeah, and Biggs was probably the least interesting character as a person of the four that we sort of follow. The others I thought were more interesting. You have sort of the next one was his name, Chase. He's
Chase, yeah,
the college
the
kid who
color.
doesn't really want to be in college, or he's thinking about dropping out, and he doesn't really believe in this insomnia thing. His friend keeps telling him, "Oh, it's happening. We gotta hoard sleeping pills and stuff," and he doesn't really believe in it until he sees it happening. Uh, and he's, I mean, he's also kind of dumb. What with this obsession with a different kind of pill than the sleeping pill.
Yeah,
Uh,
that aspect was, let's say, kind of hilarious.
yeah, it was funny. It was comedic relief, really, and how he was just, yeah, and he was also, of course, obsessed with his uh, ex-girlfriend, I guess, Felicia.
Yeah,
So it's a
but
lot about, again, another man obsessed with his girlfriend, or former girlfriend in this case. So he's looking for her as well. I mean, they go off on a trip, he and his friend, and then he decides he has to go back because she was supposed to come home for her birthday. And even though society's falling apart, he keeps imagining that she'll be home for her birthday.
yeah,
Because they used to be neighbors or something, or at least live
I've been
close.
dating since forever,
Yeah,
and
in high school, and then they broke up at college because of his deficiencies, or rather his,
erectile dysfunction.
yeah, and him not wanting to handle it. That's spoilers, I guess, because we don't get to that until a little bit into the book. So
Yeah,
sorry, but it's not very
sorry,
important.
this is a spoiler chat, though,
Yeah,
isn't it?
yeah, I guess.
Just
Yes, we're
put
not
a
gonna.
spoiler alert in the description later.
Yeah, later. Anyway, so yeah, so he's Chase. Yeah, that's so he's. I liked him better than I liked Biggs, but he had a lot of the same issues, like his obsession with his girlfriend, basically, which made them like the young and old version of the same character, basically. And I get that personality traits don't come out so much when you're suddenly all about survival and trying not to get killed by sleepers, non-sleepers, I mean. So that's sort of, yeah. But and then there's Lila, isn't it, the teenage girl?
Yeah, I wanted to learn more about her actually, but she was the one we got to know the least. I felt because we don't really get to know her. We only get to know that her story. We don't get to know much about her feelings because we see her kind of from outside a lot of the
Yeah.
time. I felt
Yeah.
like.
She's scared, we know that, and she doesn't want to leave her parents, but they don't sleep when she sleeps, and they're worried they'll kill her. So they send her away, and she's terrified, basically.
Yeah,
She,
she's wandering around with this owl mask.
yeah, because if they can't see her face, she somehow can pass as a non-sleeper, even though she sleeps. So that's interesting, and she does run into Felicia, that is Chase's ex-girlfriend, who is sleep works at the sleep research facility or something.
Yeah, her story was the most interesting actually, because this was they were actually trying to deal with this problem, not just find people.
Yeah, science!
Yes,
I mean,
science.
trying to figure out a way to get people to sleep, that's interesting. And they developed this implant, and it's that sort of, I like that part of the story a lot, because it's not just a thought experiment at that point. It's not just like, what if we don't sleep? What happens? Uh, it's trying to figure it out, and without that aspect of the story, then this book wouldn't have been that great.
Yeah,
Um,
and the way their research turns out, it's very interesting.
yes, it is.
It's fascinating, and I wonder if it's even possible.
Yeah, like the implant that makes you sleep, but it doesn't make you dream, which is sort of a point here. Uh,
Yeah,
and then that's another thing. It's sort of a oh, kitty cat.
yeah. One of the
um,
cats the book club's named for.
yeah. And there's a lot of fear in this novel, and all the characters, they're afraid. Like Felicia, she is sleepless, but she's sort of fairly functioning when we meet her, whereas Biggs, he just sleeps. Uh, and this Chase kid, he sleeps for a long time until he stops sleeping, and then there's all these, are they dreaming or are there delusions? And what can we trust? None of these narrators are reliable in any way. They don't know what's going on, really, for at least part of the story,
No,
which
that's
is
true.
which is fun. That makes the story more interesting. And they fixate on things. That's sort of probably part of the sleeplessness, that they fixate.
Yeah,
But at the same time, Big sleeps right throughout the novel, and he is so
yeah.
fixated on his wife.
He continues sleeping, but there's like a
Yeah,
decline with the rest
yeah.
during the novel.
So he's obsessed already. Maybe that's why he can sleep. um, and like it's interesting. Lila, when she's terrified, she's not able to sleep. When she's with Felicia, she just can't sleep, and she's terrified that she's
Yeah,
gone sleepless, and she runs off basically, and she can't find her way back to Felicia, and just ends up running around more. And that's that's what we hear. We don't know
that,
what happens to her, and that's so frustrating.
that's very frustrating. But
I mean,
that
we
kind
know
of,
that she fell asleep.
yeah,
Did she just get killed? Did someone find her? Did she not wake up again? Or is she fine? Is she just running around out there?
yeah. And same with Felicia. We kind of know what happens,
Yeah,
but we
no,
don't
they
really know
revealed
what
that in the
happens.
end. Yeah, I think they found her.
Did they?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's
Yeah,
the
yeah,
very end,
yeah.
and I
You're
got
right.
kind of sad and cried a little.
Yeah,
um, because I mean, yeah, and what happened there. But so Biggs is sort of the character we like least, and he is sort of also the frame of the story, and the one who never stops dreaming. He
yeah,
thinks, I mean, sometimes I think he did, like it's everything so crazy with him, but I think he is just so obsessed with his wife.
yeah.
Or maybe he's just think so crazy that he thinks he's sleeping. I don't know.
That would be an interesting twist.
So I think it's very interesting. I mean, I wish there was more. Like, it ended too soon for me. They never solved anything. They didn't, like, the implants and everything. They never got anywhere properly. I feel I would have liked to see how this ended for
Yeah,
humanity.
it was kind of three-quarters of a journey.
Yeah. So I want to know what happened in the end. And like, did humanity just die out or what?
I think humanity died out. That's my
Yeah,
theory.
probably.
I mean, how can I not? Like,
Mhm.
four people make an implant that can make you sleep but not dream, and
I mean, they're losing
that's
it.
it.
They're
And
losing it.
yeah,
They have to. So, I mean, because we need dreams. It's an interesting topic. It's a very interesting topic. What happens when we can't sleep and how important are dreams? But I feel like we just sort of get these four little stories, and they have these hints about sort of the bigger picture, especially with Felicia's story and this compound that researches on sleep, but I feel we don't quite get enough. I wanted more about that.
Yeah. Yeah, it was an interesting book, but it was lacking in a fulfillment in a
Yeah.
way, I felt. Yeah.
But
In some aspects, I also felt that the author could have gone deeper into the story, like the stripper that makes them sleep by singing a song,
yeah, and
and that center.
that was interesting, and it was some song in a different language from English that the Biggs didn't know, and where did that come from? Who was she? I mean, there's a whole side story there that could be real interesting.
Yeah. And what about the rest of the world? This is just America.
Yeah, it's a very small area of America. I think it's because they all travel in the same area. They all end up they cross paths with each other or already know each other. So
Yeah.
it's like I think I can't, is it California or something? Florida. I don't
Yeah,
know.
I think so.
It's some warm state because Lila, she has to sleep in an aqueduct in the desert to not get attacked. Like people
It's
drown.
probably like California, Las Vegas, Nevada, or something like that.
Yeah, so certainly it's in a. I can't remember. They say it, I think. There's a city. I don't know. Maybe it's bigger. I mean, Lila travels so a lot because
Yeah.
she's in a car. I don't know. It's not important, really. It's in America and it's not over a very large area. And it's in the
It
U.S.
spanned maybe
So
a couple of states.
yeah. Um. So that's sort of. What about everything else? Why did everything break down? We don't get. I would have liked to know more. I mean, this is interesting. So yeah, it's just not enough of this book.
No, it's a start of something interesting, but it needed a little bit more.
Hmm. Yeah, I think so. But at the same time, it's interesting. It's good that it ends without perhaps a conclusion because you can imagine it. We're both very pessimistic, but other people might choose a more optimistic view and think, oh yeah, they'll be fine eventually. There'll be more people like Biggs.
I say it feels like the story was maybe lacking an ending, but I'm very glad it's not a series. I don't think this
Yes.
would have worked as a series. I think
No,
this worked best as a standalone.
that's
Also,
true.
I've been reading way too many series after this.
Right. Hmm. So we liked it, but it could have been a little better. Could have been a little more of this book. That's our conclusion.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I liked that there were different characters, that we weren't just following one, that there were four different characters sort of that frequented, and then some others that were thrown in, like the friends. And there was one chapter where I believe it was Biggs's, was it brother and his wife
Yeah,
and
yeah.
child? They lost their baby. They kept looking for their baby, but they couldn't find it. And, like,
Actually, that was one of the most interesting chapters,
yeah, and
I
I think,
thought.
and that was very fascinating. It was like they were high, really. It was like they
It was
were
a
on
very,
drugs. It was
very stream of consciousness writing. It was very fascinating.
Yeah, I really liked that chapter. I understand why there wasn't more, and it was like a story within the story, and it had a conclusion. But I like that. Kind of wish there had been a bit more of those, like, sort of flashes into other people's stories.
Yeah. But the stream of consciousness way of writing, it's interesting, but it only works for it works best for shorter bits. It can be tiresome.
Yeah, it
It's
requires.
a whole book.
Yeah, and this book was already sort of unreliable narrators and things like that, so probably the stream of
Uh,
consciousness bit was kind of more reliable because we could see that they were nuts, basically.
yeah, you knew you couldn't trust them. They
Mm.
didn't pretend or come off as maybe trustworthy.
Yeah, because everyone else sort of started out as sane, well, relatively.
Yeah,
They weren't
yeah.
affected so much by sleeplessness. But then it happened. It was interesting to see it happen to people. Like Felicia was, um, she was sleep deprived already when they started, but she was a bit slower, and then you had Chase, who was slower than that, I guess. And Lila, we don't
Yeah.
really know what happened to her in terms of sleeplessness, but she slept, so yeah. And then, of course, Biggs, who always slept, but we doubted him. So I thought it was interesting, this sort of play on the characters and their psychology. That was really interesting
Yeah.
as a whole, like the sum of it.
That's right.
So yeah.
Yeah. I like the book, but I was expecting more from it.
Yeah.
From
Yeah, I was hoping for a little more. But it was fun, and I really liked the topic of sleep deprivation, what happens and what doesn't happen. I actually started reading a novella called Sleep Donation by Karen Russell, and it's also about where some people have stopped sleeping, and I believe there's like a donation truck where you can donate sleep. I haven't gotten very far into it, but it's kind of interesting. So on the same topic, then.
That's an interesting
I
subject.
don't know if it's good yet, but because I read it on my e-reader and I'm like 6% in, so I don't know. But sleep donation, that's a thing, and people are sleepless, so it's interesting.
Well,
I mean, there's at least in the concept there. So if this wasn't enough, maybe try a different angle.
yeah. One thing I found really interesting, I have problems with sleeping. And
Yeah.
from I was very, very small, I've had this habit of I go like this with my feet, rub them together to relax. And I have a friend that does the same. When we found out we both do it, we were like, oh my god, what the fuck? And then there's reference to that in this book.
Yeah.
And I was like, whoa, shit, someone else does it.
Yeah, it's a thing, isn't it? It's like, I don't know, that some people do, I think.
Yeah, apparently it is a thing. I thought it was just me
I don't know, I
for the
don't do
longest
it.
time.
But I think it's interesting. I also think it's interesting about the book,
Stop
like
eating.
they talked about sleeping aids, like pills, and
Mm.
how they worked for a bit and then they stopped working. And I wonder, does that have, if they had different effects? I would like to know more about that as well. Uh, because sleep is an issue, I guess, today. There's a lot of people going on sleep vacation and things like that. So. Yum! Here! Mm.
I'm the one that's supposed to say blue hair don't care, not you. Kitty cat.
Aw, she's so adorable.
Adorable's the word.
Yeah.
I mean, for real.
Cat intermission.
Yeah. Well, or the cat's tail.
That's true. It's very
Yeah,
true.
yes, just a bit.
Yeah, so are we sort of done talking about the book? Is there anything else you want to add?
I think we're done.
Yeah. I feel like it was a good book. Lacked a little, but we liked it, and the characters were interesting, and it weaved together pretty well with all the different stories. That was a good
Yeah.
aspect. So yeah, if we sound critical, it's easier to say the bad things than the good things.
It made us think though, and that's
Yeah.
positive. It made
Yeah,
us
and
think.
I cried at the end. Okay, I
Yeah.
always cry. I wrote down when I was reading, and the last thing I wrote was I cried at the end to remind myself. And I did think it was a very good headspace to be in when I was done with the book. Like I couldn't start another book until a couple of days later because I needed to think about it. So, which is always a good thing.
Yeah. Well, I didn't cry, but I've never done it again. I never do, so that's not an indicator of anything.
I didn't cry a lot. It wasn't very sentimental. It was too sort of erratic or too many. I mean, you didn't get deep enough into like people for me to cry
Yeah, not enough of an
very much. But
emotional
I
one
cried a
for
little
that.
at the end for the general state of things, really, which is good. I think that was a good thing. So really, I did like it, even though I would have liked to know more. I think the ending was decent enough.
Yeah.
Just yeah. So,
Should we
and
announce the this month's book? It's technically
yes,
already September, so this month.
yeah, we can do that.
We have when we have the one time we have a hangout, we have chosen author I can't pronounce.
Yeah. Well, what we're reading is Between the Devil and the Deep Blue Sea.
Next cover.
Yeah, and the author is April G. Chalk, maybe? I really don't know.
Nah.
We're sorry, April. We
Yeah.
probably will love your book, I hope. It has a lovely name and a lovely cover, but I only have it on here because it was much cheaper here, and then I don't have a lot of money.
Must our Kindles live long?
Yes.
Or not, maybe, so you can buy Paperwhites.
Shush. Yeah. So we're reading that the next month, and it's well, hopefully it's a good book. I've read good things and bad things, so I'm excited about that. It's a sort of supernatural, paranormal, urban fantasy type of thing, I think, and
Yeah. I think it's quite a bit of romance involved, though that which is not typical for our
yeah,
genres.
I saw on Goodreads a lot of people put it in the paranormal romance category, but I think it's interesting because, well, the title is kind of literally, because the devil is actually in this book. It's a character, you know.
Yeah.
That's sort of what I know. Is that this main character, which is a girl, she falls in love with a guy and it turns out, oh, he's a devil, which is interesting. It's fun. I like it.
Yeah.
It sounds like
It's an interesting concept, and it can be very interesting, I think. Also, it's nice to read something that's different from what we usually read. It's not all young adult fantasy, young adult fantasy, young adult fantasy, and just that.
yeah. This is young adult fantasy though, but it's sort of a
Yeah,
romantic aspect, which we generally tend to shy away from. But it's good. I think it's good to read varied. I think it's good to mix up your genres and things. It's good for your reading life, I think. So now we're doing
yeah.
something a little different this time.
Also, you might change your mind about certain genres, so you should try mixing it up again once in a while.
Yes.
Give it a go.
And also break up the monotony of reading the same thing a lot. I've been reading so much urban fantasy this summer, and now I need other things.
Yeah.
Even though it's my favorite genre, I just need to read other stuff. So,
You need
and
a
this is
break
other
from
stuff.
good
I've
things
read
as
this stuff.
well.
Yeah. So, are we gonna end this or?
I think we're done.
Okay. Well, it was interesting and learned some tech stuff. Uh, I'm useless, so but at least it worked.
Yeah,
So
and hopefully I can get the comments going next time as well.
yes, hopefully, and yeah, hopefully there is a next time.
And
Sometime.
next time, perhaps some wine, I think.
Yeah, maybe. Okay.
This has been sufficiently awkward.
Yes. So let's just say goodbye.
Goodbye.